moment people can identify you with excellence, they would want to always have dealings with you. People don't remember you for what you consume. They remember you for what you contribute. I studied mass communication from my dad, but I'm an artist by nature. My dad forced me to study mass communications in IMT. Build strategic relationships when you are climbing the ladder, because you will need them when you get to the top. You will always be an influence of the people you talk to, 75 to 80% of the time. Nobody is ready to spoon feed you and get you out of the gutter except you. That anyone can become anything if you're ready to learn that thing.
Hello everyone, welcome to Stories and Journeys, where we explore the transformative power of learning, growth, and resilience. Join us as we uncover untold narratives and ignite curiosity. My name is Oluwatimile Oyedeji. Joining us on this episode is a master of creativity, one that has touched on so many brands with so much impact still being felt to today. He's not a person than a fantastic individual that I think you know. He currently sits as the Provost, although he is the founder of O2 Academy. He's not a person than Ozone Mbanefo. Hi, boss.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Really privileged to have you here with us. We really look forward to learning from you.
Awesome.
You know, I think the journey for you started at LTC, you know, in 2000.
That's right.
In 2000, right? And you quickly moved on from there to serve as creative and art director at so many agencies, you know. What has that journey been like for you up until now? You know, for almost a decade now, you currently are impacting lives, you know, of young individuals across the continent, you know, teaching them more about creativity, branding, communications. You know, what has that journey been like for you?
Okay, I would say it's been a journey that when I look at where I started, I get super encouraged because where I am today, I think is just God favoring me. I'm the least of what I expected I am right now. Let me put it this way. I found myself in Lagos through NYSC. And having schooled in the East, where I would consider not so developed as Lagos, I felt there were not much opportunity for people like me because I wasn't born and brought up in Lagos. Everything in Lagos was just too fast for me when I showed up through NYSC, by the way. But then again, Lagos favored me. Lagos favored me in such a way that I'm looking back with tears of joy in my eyes because considering the fact that I schooled in a secondary school where they use Igbo language as the official mode of communication, being able to express myself coming to Lagos as at 2000 was a problem. Now finding myself in the advertising industry is an entire new game altogether. And one thing that helped me, or would I say that paved the way for me, is that one word, knowledge. I discovered in 2001 that anyone can become anything if you're ready to learn that thing. And that was everything I needed for where I want to be. In fact, my story is a story of one who never got any form of recognition I joined an ad agency as a core member where they felt, okay, this guy should be an errand boy. Nobody ever wanted to teach me how to use the computer. And I was relegated to menial jobs, a full-fledged graduate.
Interesting.
I do go to toilet to cry, and the whole tribalism thing then was very strong. And one day while I was crying in the toilet, a voice came to me, more like a thought, but I know it's God speaking with me, and it's like, if you will agree to partner with me, I'm going to teach you how to use the computer, because my issue is how to use this computer. Of course, I got into that agency as an illustrator because they gave me a test, right from NYSC camp. I came there. Okay, let me tell you the full story.
Beautiful. Yeah, for the stories.
Okay, so this guy that just got posted to Lagos via NYSC, and at the NYSC camp, I danced Makosa so well that the guys that came to set up, the agency that handled the event, the grand finale, which was for Guinness.
Okay.
One of the brand management guys walked up to me and was like, "You dance so well." And I looked at him and I said, "Boss, I love your job. Can you give me small contacts?" He laughed. He said, "What did you study?" I said, "Mass comm." He gave me his card. And guess what? I took that card, went to the advertising agency. It was LTC. And I got there. I said, "This and so person gave me the card to come for interview." The HR said, "Okay, are you ready for a test?" I said, "Yes." They gave me the test. OT. I failed that test with total commitment and zeal. When you fail with passion. And she was like, "You're not even feeling bad that you wrote nonsense." I said, "Because I studied mass communication for my dad, but I'm an artist by nature. My dad forced me to study mass communications in IMT." And she laughed. She said, "So you mean you can draw?" I said, "Yes." She said that you're lying because you just want to get a job. I said, "Okay, let me show you." I picked an A4 paper from her printer and I sketched her within 15 minutes.
Whoa.
And right there, she called the creative department. These were her words. "I think we've seen the talent we are looking for." That was how I got into advertising. But that was when my struggle continued. NYSC, now your struggle continues. Because that was when I faced the most difficult time of my life, because the guys in the studio, none of them wanted to teach me how to use the computer. I'm talking about year 2000, when the desktop computer used to be very huge, big, white color with very hard keyboards and one very big PC, the control panel. And they were always sending me on errands, never wanted me to get close to see how to use CorelDRAW and Photoshop. So I go to toilet to cry most of the times. And one day while I was crying, I call it my afternoon crying sessions, because it's every afternoon. Just go there and weep. And the voice came to me, "You really want to learn how to use the computer? Will you be ready to partner with me?" I said, "Yes, I will." And that conversation ended that day. 7 days after, the inspiration came. And that was when I knew it was God. Guess what? The same voice said, "Go to where they do all-night browsing." Because in those days, there was no Google, there was no YouTube. You can't just learn anything from anywhere. That was online is just only Yahoo Mail.
So cafe.
A cafe, thank you. So the concept just hit my head. Go to cyber cafe, all-night browsing. You will meet most of because those days is Yahoo boys. That's why they call them Yahoo Mail. So those are the guys that know how to use Photoshop and CorelDRAW to do all those their rubbish forming stuff. Those were the guys that taught me how to use CorelDRAW. Those were the guys that taught me how to use Photoshop for the first time. So what I do is, when I learn from them, I get to the office, and of course I never used it for anything bad. I get to the office and I practice what they've taught me when my bosses had gone home. So they close around 6, 5. I memorized their password. And I just go in and I use my diskette. Then it was diskette. I use it to practice what I have saved in the cyber cafe. And that was how I learned. Within a period of 3 weeks, they now employed 2 other young men that were of my age bracket, and I parlayed with them. So they now taught me. That was Ndo Kakade and Fome Ozuo. I don't forget those guys. They now taught me how to apply art direction. Because you see, the fact that you know how to use the graphics you can design is not a guarantee that you can use imagery to tell a story. And that is advertising, applying the magic and logic to be able to tell a brand story through imagery. They taught me that. And with this, I did the first work. Of course, I stole that brief from my boss's table. And that was Limca. I worked on that Limca campaign, and they submitted it to Coca-Cola, because then it was Coke that manages that just bought Limca. Bro, my concept was approved over my boss's own. Whoa. That was how Billy Lawson got me my own computer at LTC Advertising, and they stopped sending me on errands, and my entire life changed. And that was when I discovered the power of knowledge. That was when I knew how so important it is that you change your information, because information is what causes transformation. And bro, from that day, back to back, I worked on Calypso Coconut Liquor. From there, Evertable Water, several brands, Limca Gold Sport. Do you know, within a period of 13 months, thereabout, a year plus, they got me a car. An agency called Insight Communications employed me, and my salary was increased from 20,000 to 150K.
Whoa.
Automatic
Exponential.
The power of information. On joining Insight, I didn't stay in Insight up to 2 weeks. I was the only guy that had been with Insight Communications just within a week and 3 days. DDB, another agency that had gone for a test at the same time, grabbed me. I dropped letter for Insight. My story is crazy. From Insight, I moved from DDB. It wasn't up to 8 months. I moved to TVW. It was where I worked on MTN account, because at DDB I was working on Globalcom account. And agencies were approaching people based on the accounts you've worked on. It's similar for what the brand needed. On getting to TVW, worked on MTN account, did so many campaigns for Hello Nigeria, MTN, Yellow Christmas, so many of those stuff. We worked on it. From TBWA, I moved to an agency called Bates Kose, and that was where I started getting that realization that I need to answer the call, the agreement I had with God. And I turned my 2-bedroom apartment to the first cohort of O2 Academy.
We'll definitely talk about that, because I think that's a fantastic story. I think will be very insightful and impactful to our audience, and even myself as well. But I want to double click on something. So what did you? Yes, information, knowledge was important, was critical. But how was it that coming from Enugu at the time, you were not given the opportunity to be hands-on, but you had the skills. So you could draw, you could illustrate. What would you say changed, in the mindsets or in your mindset that got you from a place of crying in the toilet every afternoon to a place where you can now work with several agencies and deliver on several brands, and drive by affinity or tell stories around the brand? What changed? What mindset would you say propelled you into achieving all of those things?
Now, this is exactly what I tell a lot of young people, because the truth is, nobody is ready to spoon feed you and get you out of the gutter except you. You just have to figure it out. And to be honest with you, and each time I think about it, I think it's just the grace of God, because there were no books to read. Today you have, an avalanche of information hitting you, like knowledge is everywhere. You look this way, you have resources to, tap into. In those days, there's nowhere. But I can still remember one of the things that really, really kickstarted it for me. And I'm going to tell you what that is. I discovered I was finding it. The first thing was actually to even present.
Okay.
Because even after I learned how to use the graphics and learned art direction, I discovered I can't express my concept and sell my idea to the team, not to talk of the client. So I discovered they don't take me to meetings because I can't talk good English. So I told myself, bro, you need to do something about this. I started looking for resources. I still remember one CD I bought then, because there was no YouTube. I bought a CD at Computer Village, and that was a guy called, what's his name again? Anthony Robbins.
Okay.
Yes, Tony Robbins.
Okay.
His motivational sessions. I bought that stuff. I started listening to this guy, and I started picking the way the guy talks and everything. And you know what I did? I started gathering young people in my estate. Every Saturday, I gather them, and I will repeat everything this guy had said. And after which they listen to me, I buy them soft drink, gala. I use those guys to practice public speaking, how to sell. I tell them the you in you is what makes you who you are. You see, no scandalizer of man humanity can man the manhood of a man. So I say those things, they laugh, but I was gaining confidence. I was reassuring myself I can do this thing. And I also got addicted to listening to some of these CDs that helped reshape my mind to see that anything is possible. And as I inspire my students a lot. In fact, I do what I call inspirational teaching, because you need to help people believe that it is possible before you can show them that it's possible. Belief is very powerful. So that, I think, really helped me change my entire thought process, and I was able to do more. And every step of the way, I keep seeing that progression, that greater light at the other end of the tunnel. So for me, I think that's it, and plus the grace of God. Yeah.
Critical. Beautiful. So there's a place of, obviously there's a place of God in it, but there's also a place of belief.
Exactly.
And having that mindset that everything is possible. I think one thing that was critical from what you said was the fact that you actually had to put in the work.
That's right. And also the kind of people you surround yourself with. And this is the most important aspect of what will help a person become. Because you will always be an influence of the people you talk to 75 to 80% of the time. And I think I was lucky enough to find myself around seasoned professionals at that early stage. Most of the guys who were my friends, Kuleshitu, Dotun, Bola, most of these guys are smart, they are intelligent, and there's no way you can measure up. So I was always looking for things that will help me get to that level of reasoning, because my guys are not dull. So I chose the right set of people, and I still put it this way: the grace of God helped me make some of those decisions. Because sometimes it's not just that people don't want to become or do those things, but they don't have the grace. The grace comes with, I think it's just God that help us take decisions that will help us do the right things. So I still give it back to grace of God that helped me choose my friends correctly. And with those people that I surround myself, I found out that because it's you will always do what your friends constantly do. These guys, they read, they do their research, and they do things that will challenge you. So, and I can't help but to be like them. And today, they are also part of what has helped the academy. 75 to 80% of the masterclass instructors we have in O2 Academy are my old-time friends. And that's why I tell people, build strategic relationships when you are climbing the ladder, because you will need them when you get to the top, because most of them will also be at the top. Today, the marketing director of Olams is my friend. Marketing director of Wando is my friend. You know, you go to Airtel, you have I have a lot of my friends there. You know, brand managers. You know, almost 70% of some of the multinationals you have today. A lot of them are guys that I've worked with in agencies and clients that I have also worked for in most of those agencies. So strategic relationship also plays a very vital role. Yeah.
Beautiful. And speaking about strategic relationships, it's also a function of what you bring to the table, the value you bring to the table.
You can say that again.
You know, looking at what you do, you know, as the master of creativity, you know, what would you say has helped you to sustain that relationship with those set of people? And what would you say, because I imagine that for brands you had worked with or brands you had touched or impacted on, you had to put in the work. You had to do some research. You had to do some work overnight, you know, just to ensure that you're able to bring an idea to life. So what has been those things that sort of helped you, you know, in bringing those ideas to life, in enabling you ensure that today you can then sustain those relationships, you know? So again, what are those things, you know, that you sort of leverage, you know, to help you bring the creativity to life?
Very fantastic question. And you see, I always put it this way: strategic relationships is a function of who you know, what you know, and how you use what you know for who you know. I want to say it again.
Please do.
Strategic relationships is a function of who you know, what you know, and how you use what you know for who you know.
Interesting.
Yeah. You know, because when you meet people, the reason why they will call you after meeting them, it's not because of what you need from them. People don't remember you for what you consume. They remember you for what you contribute. They are not there for what you are going to get from them. They are there for what they will get from you. So when you meet people, why they will put a call across to you, or rather, why they will pick your call, is when they remember what they stand to gain from you, not what you will gain from them. So the first thing first is, what have you got to offer? What can you bring to the table? And that's why I tell a lot of young people, be serious with whatever you find your hand doing. Do it well. Don't play. Do it well.
Are you going to learn?
Don't play. You're going to learn the hard way. You know, I have this friend of mine. He's the head of marketing. What's this brand again that handles fan milk?
Dan1.
Okay, yes, head of marketing, Dan1. You know,
Balon. Okay,
yeah.
Balon, sorry.
Yes, we were together at Betkose. And there was this masterclass I invited him for at the academy. And he told the students, he said, your provost is a very seasoned professional. I worked with him at Betkose on Wema Bank account. Ozone will stay on his Photoshop, editing the photos after shoot till about 10 to 11 p.m. And I'll tell Ozone, we need to go home. Ozone says no. And that's me. Because if I don't get it right, look, I work like I don't need the money. I work like my life depends on it, because it does. And he says, and Ozone will insist, even when I'm telling him I think he's okay. And at the end of the day, the client sees the work and they are shouting. He said, that's the reason why Ozone will ask me to show up at the academy for this session. I'll show up because I know he's a man of excellence. Now, if people like that, when we were working together as colleagues, sees me as one guy that's always giving excuse, he calls me as his art director. Ozone, where are you? I'm coming. I'm at the junction. And he's waiting for you for another 2 hours. The client is on his case. Tomorrow you're doing stuff and you're inviting him. In fact, he will remember those days and laugh at whatever you're doing because he knows you're going to be doing rubbish. So what you bring to the table, first of all, earns you respect. And people respect you not because they like you, but because they have a sense of respect for the work you do. That gives you a very healthy platform to nurture that relationship. Then, that on its own will make them even recommend you tomorrow to some other person because their own name is also at stake. And you see, nobody will recommend someone that will mess up their integrity. And that's how this network thing works. So the first thing first is have something great you have to offer. Be authentic. Be very professional at anything you do. The moment people can identify you with excellence, they would want to always have dealings with you. And so building a strategic relationship is all about what you can bring to the table. Then the second thing is being a people's person, because you see, talent is not enough. Having the ability and being so good, but you have a nasty character. You have a very bad attitude. Yes, they like your work, but you are not the only person who can do that same stuff. So being a likable person is also another thing. Be friendly. I always put it this way. Do not see through people, rather see people through you. God has not called us to see through each other. He has called us to see each other through. So be tolerant and have a sense of empathy because nobody is perfect. If your friend, is not happy with how you said it at the meeting or whatever, be humble enough to say, guy, no vex, I beg. No vex, let's just move on. But you see people in offices, they will fight till thy kingdom come. Ego battle. Some of those things, they burn bridges that is supposed to take them to the next level. So that is it. Character and talent. And the two will help you nurture and keep that relationship using what you know or who you know.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. I'll go a bit more in depth now. What's your process? What's your creative process? How do you bring ideas to life?
To be honest with you, different things works for different people. But I can always say it anywhere, anytime. And, a lot of people think they are not creative. It's a lie. We are all creative. Ask me why. Well, because we are created by the Creator. So, chicken cannot give birth to an elephant. It's not possible. You will always be a function of where or your source, your resources is going to come from your source. So we are from God. We are creators, created by the Creator himself. So he has built in us the ability to create something out of nothing. But then again, there must be the key triggers. That's what I call it. Just like when you load a gun, something must trigger the bullet to move. And you know what those triggers are? The things around you. The things around you. That's one. Two, things that other creators have created. You match the two, you create magic. So, looking through great work, stuff that has been done by experts, you see, because nothing is new. You don't go and come and kill yourself. Check out what people have done in the past. Then pick it and submerge it to the things around you. Because if I look through an ad done in San Francisco now, and I copy exactly what is there, it's working over there, but it's not going to work right here in Nigeria. Exactly. So what I tell people is to localize your concept. Globalization is simply global concept, but with local relevance. So you Nigerianize it, and don't try to do too much. Keep it simple. Don't try to say everything. Leave something for their imagination. So my creative process is pretty simple. Anytime you're telling a brand story or you're trying to say something for the brand, because we are brand agents. That's why we're called an advertising agency.
Correct.
So we are like the middleman between the landlord that needs a tenant and the tenant. So we help the landlords to get the tenants to come and buy the house. Rent the house. Yeah. So our job is understanding these tenants. What is their motivation? What drives their purchasing decision? What are the things that matters to them? What are the issues they are going through? When you tap into their inner core, their pain points, of course, you will get their attention. And once you get their attention, you need the retention. And that retention, okay, for example, I put it this way. The story of the Eskimos and the wolf, yeah? You know how the Eskimos hunt for wolves? They just put blood, of a sheep or ram or goat, and they bury it, in a snow, a sword with a lot of blood. Now, the wolf smells blood from far, and it will lick this blood. As he's licking the blood, the tongue and the mouth is getting numb. So by the time it gets to the buried sword, which looks like an icicle, there is a sword with blood. It keeps licking. Guess what? The sharp sword is already cutting the tongue. The poor wolf will still think that the blood coming out of his mouth is still the blood of the sheep. And before you know it, lots of blood faints and dies, and they come and pick the meat. And that's simply what advertising does, because you lure consumer with entertainment, with things that will inspire, that interest them. And you sandwich the communication. They won't even know. They don't chop up. That's it. So I use that a lot in conceptualization. Don't come hard sell. Don't tell people come and buy my pepper. No. Tell people about pepper them gang and how someone has peppered you the other way and they'll blah blah blah. You chip in the pepper brand and that's it. They won't even know when they are singing that pepper song and it's already, increasing the recall rates of the brand and the talkability. So that's it for me, the magic and the logic. That's what I call it. The magic is the entertainment. The logic is the communication. The logic is the thing the client wants to pass across. And that's why we are the experts.
Beautiful, beautiful. There's a lot of strategy that also goes into all of those creativity and, for lack of a better word, creative assets being developed. In profiling the audience, they need to understand the pain points.
Yeah.
From an emotional level, that's rational, self-expressive level.
Exactly.
And they all coming together to create a narrative or maybe a USP or proposition for
the brand.
For the brand. Looking at top brands that you've worked on, what role would you say that data, and storytelling play in developing or coming up with creative ideas and maybe assets?
To be very honest with you, data is important, but consumer insight is more important. You see, because at the end of the day, if you don't get the real insights that will help you create something that they will connect with. And when we talk about data, we have the big data. Yeah. And of course, that numbers, for me, it is very, very important. I am not underestimating the power of data, but communication is mostly driven by very thorough insights. I call it the why. The why. You keep digging deeper. For example, somebody tells you, why do you drink beer? He says, because I want to get high. Why do you want to get high? Because when I get high, I am bored. Why do you want to get bored? Because when I'm bored, so you keep going deeper and deeper. And before you know it, you find out that it's not even the getting high is the motivation. It could actually be he just want to make money. And you pick that, you drop it in the communication. Consumer loyalty, straight up. So that's where insight plays the big role. But data is key. Data is important. And of course, insight is also part of data, but I'm talking about data that is organic through very strong insight. And that's it for me.
Beautiful. I think that makes a lot of sense, because when you look at the example you give, when you drill down, asking the why question, it just helps you get a sense of
the core,
what the actual pain point is. And I think that's quite beautiful, but yeah, you use so many tools, to bring your ideas to life. I imagine, what that process would be like for you. You only sleepless night, brainstorming, but something you talked about earlier, and it was a muscle you had to develop, which was presentation skills.
Yeah.
What would you say is a role of presentation, even for creatives, to be able to sell their ideas?
To be very honest with you, presentation plays a very vital role in getting the client's acceptance and buy-in for every creative work. In fact, the truth about presentation is that when you do a good work that is poorly presented, trust me, you've done a beautiful nonsense. And I call it a beautiful nonsense because it's very beautiful, but your presentation made a mess of it. And so presentation is not just having a very good command of English. That is very important. Yeah. But things as little as the body language, the tonality, the environment, the atmosphere, the energy you create before you even start your presentation, how you are able to calm their nerves. I see a lot of creatives, they just come to present and they just go ahead to no, that's total wrong. You don't do that. The first thing you do is to get them to drop their machetes. Because before you start talking, they've formed a narrative in their head. As a matter of fact, most of the junior staff team in the client side is there for two things: to impress their boss and pull you down. It will shock you, because they are there to just criticize, especially some companies that just have this whole air of let's just show that we are working. That's it. So what you do to get them to drop their machete is storytelling. You start by telling a story. People love stories a lot. And tell a controversial story. Tell a story that will make them laugh. A story that will, talk about relationship. Now connect it to the concept of what you guys were present. You've changed the atmospheric region in that way. You've changed the entire energy. And when the client is feeling cool, they want to listen to you with like, okay, this guy, just say what you want to say, And the packaging also plays a very vital role. And I tell people, a lot of times it's not about PowerPoint. The days of PowerPoint, yes, it's good. But do something relatable. There was this agency I heard about, I think somewhere in South Africa. They, showed up for a pitch. And the first agency came in, presented, second agency with their laptop and PowerPoint and stuff. These guys, now, of course, the client is got to do with a game reserve. They have a Zoom. And this agency just walked in, two guys. One short, bald-headed guy, creative director, fat, looking very, very dirty, not looking good. And they didn't know that it's part of the concept. The guy walked in, and the other guy, also not looking too good, rolled in a 180-pound weight lion in a cage.
Whoa.
I like that as reps up. And guess what? The clients they were all startled. Wow! And he said, that's it. We could have just showed up, and this is presentation. We could have just showed up here to tell you all the strategy and the whole story. But Zoo is about impact. Your expression right here is exactly what we need to take to town. Look at me and my dressing. That's a zookeeper. We were shocked.
Interesting.
They said their concept is just to rule those animals, big elephants and some of those stuff, in a giant cage and go around the city of Cape Town and tell them, if you want to see more, come to the game reserve. They won the pitch. Presentation. Beautiful. So you just have to look at it from a different angle, something that will hit the client, that will make you stand out, that will make a memorable impression in the minds of your client. And that's about that for presentation. Yeah.
Insightful. Very, very insightful. What would be your advice to young creatives, young creative directors, within their first 10 years, within the industry? What would be your advice for them for longevity?
Pretty simple. Keep sharpening your soul. Don't stop sharpening your soul, because look, you are on a battlefield. The truth about it is, the day you stop learning is the day you start dying, straight up. And I'm not saying this because I run an academy. I'm saying this because I'm a sucker for knowledge. Everything I have ever achieved today is because I decided to learn how to do it. And the more I learn, the more I earn. And so what I'll tell them, don't stop at what stuff you did well, because great men and women, champions, they keep their medals at their back. The moment you keep looking at your medals, trust me, you're going to get lazy, because you keep feeding on your old glory. So you need to wake up every morning, be hungry and angry, and be ready for a new challenge. And don't get rusty, because see, the challenges you face is an opportunity for you to move to the next level if you can conquer them. And for you to conquer them, you need a sharp sword for that fight. And the only place it happens is in the mind, is in the head. Don't leave a day pass you by without learning something good, something new, without learning something new. I tell my team, I say, every day I challenge myself, I'm going to learn how to do everything that each and every one of you know how to do. I can teach strategy, I can teach copy, I can teach art direction, I can teach filmmaking. In fact, the day I entered one of the film school of media, the film production classes, and I showed them some tricks on Adobe Premiere. They were like, wow, Mr. O, we taught you all this motivational Provost. I said, I know. And that's why I'm always prepared. Yesterday I still showed some students tricks on Photoshop. They were shouting, because you see, this brain is meant for one thing: productivity, to create stuff. We are created by the creator that created all the creators. And as a creative, as a young creative who is aspiring for the next level, if you can make a habit of increasing your knowledge base by 5% every day, trust me, nobody will meet you at the same place the next 12 months. It's not going to happen. And so it's all about sharpening your soul.
Beautiful.
And every other thing will fall place.
Beautiful.
Yes.
I want to dial back a bit. What was growing up like for you as a person?
I spent 75 to 80% of my me time drawing. Drawing. Every time. In fact, today I don't have any flair for football. Is it they say they are playing match and blah, blah, blah. You're joking. I don't. You know why? When my mates are playing football, I'm in the class drawing. When they come back, I give them my drawing. The fulfillment I get from what I have produced keeps me going. And so my life is more of introverted extrovert. So when I want to get out, I go crazy. But most of the time, I'm there grinding and cooking stuff. And that was how I was able to build the Nigeria almost advertising school, where I trained people free of charge for 4 years in my garage.
Oh,
Yeah. I did 2 years in my 2-bedroom apartment and another 2 years in my garage before we moved to our permanent site. And I was always teaching them midnight. So I closed from work for 7, get home, play with my kids till about 10, 11, and I go down for the grind. And we work from 12 to 3 and we sleep and I go to work. And when I get to work, none of my colleagues knew what I was doing. The only thing is sometimes I take a dose and they were laughing at me. Today, they've seen the reason for that dose. But it's a discipline that I was able to garner as a kid, because I believe that people can only celebrate you for what you will contribute, not what you will consume.
Beautiful. That's quite insightful.